Good evening and welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. It's a European match day coverage. This is your pre-match, hosted by myself, Chris McElwain, in place of Paul John Dykes, who is, of course, hosting the fan zone at Barra's Art and Design tonight, alongside Jackie McNamara, one of our legends, as we all know. It is Celtic versus Stuttgart tonight under the Parkhead lights. Really looking forward to this one. I am flying solo for the pre-match. I may be joined by one of my Acsom colleagues, one of my international colleagues, for the half-time and full-time potentially. But one of the things that's quite good about being on by myself, and Paul John alludes to this quite a lot, is and actually JP mentioned today that the challenge sometimes in talking and managing the comments. I personally, in genuine honesty, I quite enjoy it because I do get to see the comments. You do feel a little bit like you're interacting. And as I'm sure quite a few of you have, quite a few of you have alluded to, I do like to talk quite a bit. I haven't actually spoken this much this year, so if my voice does go, I do apologise. Anyway, what we are going to try and focus on as much as possible is on all matters related to the match tonight. We have played Stuttgart before, of course, under the current manager, no less. All those years ago on the road to Seville, in which we actually, over two legs, we managed to beat Stuttgart and put them out under current assistant manager Sean Maloney getting one of the goals on those across those ties. I believe Petrov and, if I remember right, Paul Lambert getting one as well. What I'd like to do first of all, and I do want to try and get as much or as many of your comments up as possible, but I'm going to start by bringing up tonight's lineup because there's a few talking points in there. A few of you have alluded to them in your comments already. So I'll just run through these quickly and then we can start talking through a couple of different areas of the team. So the starting lineup tonight, we have Kasper Schmeichel in goal. We have Araujo, our new, I guess you could say, enigmatic hero, Araujo, coming in to play in Europe. So good to have him in there. Trusty and Scales, the what's becoming largely our standard centre-back pairing now, and Kieran Tierney coming in at left back. We have our captain, Callum McGregor. And then, one of probably the main talking points, we have Bernardo coming back into midfield in Europe. He has been known for his performances in Europe for us in the past, but we haven't really seen that for some time. So big opportunity for Bernardo tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that. Benji Negrin always seems to find himself in a position for a goal, so really hoping that he carries on that form and that consistency tonight. Seb Tenekte, someone that seems to have really turned around in the eyes of many supporters, including myself. I think starting to live up to that early promise. Did go through a bit of a tough time. He himself has alluded to that, but he's got his head down. He's been working hard, and he's been a real difference maker in the last few games. So again, hopefully he can do that on the European stage again tonight. Daizen Maeda comes in. Not sure who will be playing right or left at the moment. Tenekte, as we've seen, can be effective on both sides in recent matches, so not sure where they will line up. We'll have to wait for the match to start. And Thomas Schwanzvara comes back into the striker position tonight ahead of Adamu. We'll run through the bench as quickly as I can. So Sinisalo and Duhan are our substitute goalkeepers. We've got Adamu on the bench, which is great. Also good to see Iheanacho on the bench. So we do have striking options if we need them. Yang drops out to the bench. Maybe a point there is, is that fair on Yang? He's been on relatively good form recently. Would you have rather seen him start maybe ahead of Maeda, for example? But again, maybe a good player to bring off the bench. We've got McCowan and Hatate. So Rio being talked up by Martin O'Neill, didn't shy away from Hatate's struggles, has spoken in glowing terms about the player's desire to try and get back to the standard we know he can hit. So good management from Martin O'Neill, I think, on that one. We'll talk a little bit about maybe what he can bring to the table, and is it smart to maybe drop him to the bench and bring him on where he's maybe got the chance to make a greater impact. Sirachi, it's great to see that cover at left back, and he's a player that's really starting to get the affection of supporters. He's bringing a lot to the table, that energy that as Celtic fans we all really love. We've also got Dane Murray, we've got the experience of James Forrest, Kobe Donovan, and of course Tony Ralston. So while it's still maybe not the strongest bench that we want, I think what we can say is it's nice to see options in certain key positions in there. I will bring up the Stuttgart lineup before the match as well, so we can take a look at how they're lining up tonight. Anyway, let's run through some of those talking points. So keen to get your thoughts on First of all, Bernardo coming back. A lot of people have been clamouring to see Bernardo back in the team. He did have some really good performances in his first, when he first joined the club, was very much relied on for Europe, lived up to some of that promise, but then has really struggled since he got injured, actually, has really struggled to re-establish himself under a couple of managers now. So not just, Martin O'Neill, but he's been given a nod tonight. Is that more symptomatic of Rio Hatate dropping out? And Martin O'Neill thinking, maybe this is Bernardo's opportunity to come in, maybe make a play for the jersey, or is it purely tactical? Is he looking at Bernardo and thinking he maybe is a player I need for Stuttgart tonight? So let's see, get some of your comments up. So we'll try and get the pulse. If you do see me looking over, it's because I've got quite a big screen here. I'm trying a little bit of a new setup here. So I am still looking at you. I'm not looking at all sorts of different screens. I'm just looking at here to get the comments. So apologies if that's a little bit distracting. But what I have liked is, and this is a point I want to make, we've had this little period where we've not really been looking forward to matches in Europe because we've not had a lot of faith in the squad depth. We were concerned that we didn't do enough preparation or didn't, get the signings in the summer to certainly compete in Europe after, what we saw last year. But are we starting to kind of look forward to these nights again? And actually, in some of your comments, I'll start bringing them up. Start with Thomas Burns, great name, obviously named after one of my absolute favourite managers, Tommy Burns, of course. But Thomas Burns comes out to say, "Come on the hoops," and William O'Toole, exactly the same, on the hoops, hail, hail. Joseph Glinchy, sorry, beg your pardon. Joseph McGlinchy comes in to say, "Let's go, biggest match of the season so far since Kyra." Anyways, well, I mean, there's a lot at stake in this one. And yes, I know we're still trying to find our feet in our performances, but we are getting some results, and there's just that wee bit of belief. So hopefully through half time and then into full time, we'll be talking in very positive terms. Sean, you come in as well, Monohoops, loving it. And then we get to, first of all, the Sean again saying love Bernardo's selection. So yeah, a few of you saying, Bernardo coming in with the first goal. A lot of people, Joe Hamilton, good to see you on the show, Bernardo. So does seem to be a bit of positivity around Bernardo. There is a comment from Sean there that I can't bring up. He says he's built like a brick, which I think, yeah, maybe quite possible. You looking very professional, Chris. I'm not sure this is what I'd call professional attire, but this is one of the Acsom shirts, one of the first bits of merch that I bought off Acsom before I joined. By the way, it wasn't like royalty or anything like that. And Joe Hamilton, you came back in, the only DD with the Celtic state of mind. I'm struggling to actually refer to myself as double denim because everybody says DD, and of course DD can also be referring to our minority shareholder who, let's be honest, is not always the most popular man. So sometimes I see all these DD blah blah blah. I sometimes think you guys are talking about me. Some of you are, to be fair, which is fine. I like this comment. This comes again from Sean, and I'm going to get loads of comments. So even if you get the same person coming up more than once, it's fine. I'll get through as many of these as we possibly can before we finish. But Tierney Araujo to whip the ball into Schwanzvara's head for the first goal. Called it first here, boys. Well, okay. I'm going to star that comment so I can refer back to that if we see that. Is that Shillelagh coming in to say hail hail? Yep, absolutely. There are a couple of comments here. Apologies, I can't bring up some of them because of the language. Otherwise, Paul John will get me into trouble. Maybe after 9 o'clock I can. But there are a few people talking about protests at the match. Now, I know on social media there were, and I can't speak to the validity or verify the authenticity of them, but there were some notes, observations coming out of the meeting between I think our chairman Brian Wilson, some members of the exec team. Don't think we had our CEO or our CFO there, and obviously members of the Collective Green Brigade, etc. And I think there have been some observations said that it wasn't massively productive. There were some tentative answers towards things. I can't speak to any of that, so unfortunately I can't confirm if it's true or not. I did see some information around protests. I know that's a very divisive course of action, particularly on match days. It's making the statement versus possibly negatively impacting the team and on the park. So we'll try and get more information, maybe at halftime, as to whether that took place and what that meant. DG83 X says hail hail, all hail hail double D. Great. Mo says like comes in flying solo with a pilot's headwear. Yeah, I mean, I do look a little bit like I should be working at a McDonald's drive-through, but it's purely just because I want to make sure you get the best possible sound quality. I know a few people say that when I'm using the wife's dodgy iPad at times that I sound like I'm underwater. So hopefully the sound is coming through okay. McMahon 671221 double denim. I'd take that all day long. I really would. I'm not looking for a big statement scoreline tonight, as nice as that would be. I just want to see the same resiliency and the same will to win that we've seen under Martin O'Neill in the past, and what we're actually starting to see this season. As we've said, it's not good for the old ticker, and all of you have said it. Martin O'Neill has said it. Mainstream pundits have said it. The way we're winning matches at the moment is not sustainable. I wouldn't mind it if we sustained it for one more game, namely tonight, but we are going to have to try and find that formula of putting teams to bed, particularly when we maybe get that early goal, and removing that fragility that we've seen far too often this season. Celtic Jacks is saying Maeda. Yeah, I mean, the alternative to Maeda may have been Yang coming in. He seems like the most obvious, the obvious substitute there. Maeda's not, I think, been at his best this season. I think that's fair to say. The one thing that Maeda can bring to a game is that energy and that ability to get back and defend, and we might need that tonight because Stuttgart are a team I think that favours a high press from what I was reading about earlier today. This is quite interesting. Celtic Jackson comes back and say that engine room worries me against this side. Yeah, energy levels need to be big tonight. I sometimes think that this is where Callum McGregor needs support from the guys behind him. So we need to find that balance in the centre midfield. What's been quite good though is we've seen players like Taneke on the wings, Maeda, coming back and trying to help out. And I think when you look at the energy of players like Araujo, he brings a little bit of that aggression into the side as well, which is great to see. That's kind of the one of the things that Celtic supporters we love to see, like that little bit of needle, that little bit of fight. So that's good. Paddy, I love the Dirty Harry comment, but I cannot bring that up. I'm going to keep that one for note. I like that one. I love Dirty Harry. That's a good film. A lot of people say I've got the same hair, but I'm not sure if that's the case. Alexander, you come in to say, this is Alexander JJ7ZR. Not sure I like the YouTube, the way it brings up the full handle now, or full username instead of the old handle. It's a bit more difficult to recognise some of the old names, but it's a good point as well. He's dropped Hatate, well done, Martin. Well, yeah, what do we think of that? Do we think that is because Martin O'Neill had spoken about Rio's desire to try and pick up his standards, his own recognition that he's not been playing well. Martin was quite, I think, honest as he generally is about maybe the player's head being turned or distracted by the transfer window. Was he going to get a move? Was he not? Etc. That kind of thing. I think now that the transfer window is finished and he's back, I think it was quite typically good man management from Martin O'Neill. He doesn't throw players under the bus, certainly not in public. I think he was laying down a little bit of a challenge, but I think he was also doing it in a way that was quite encouraging and nurturing for the players. So look, the challenge is on Rio now to live up to that endorsement, I think, by Martin. But maybe the best way to do that is to take him a little bit out of the firing line, ease him back in. It could be the case where we need a player who's got something to prove to come on late in the game. Maybe that's the opportunity for Rio. So fingers crossed. I know as supporters we criticise, but we also want our players to do well. So fingers crossed he comes in and maybe makes a difference if he gets the opportunity. Andy Lee coming in. I'm praying Bernardo's a good game tonight. He is due one. Yeah, we've seen it in glimpses when he's came on, but he's not really came in and took charge of a game for me yet this season. So I would like to see him, take the opportunity tonight, really reassert himself as someone that's maybe got a future at the heart of our midfield. I feel hesitant to write the player off because I just don't think we've seen enough from him. And you start to think, well, what are the coaches seeing in training? What is he, is he not showing enough behind the scenes? Is that why he's not getting the opportunity? So it could be, as I say, in Europe, all the spotlight's on you. You think this is the platform where players really want to, prove themselves. So the opportunity, but the challenge is on the player to absolutely take it. Let's see, Celtic Jacks come back in there, take a draw of the night. Anything can happen over there, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, look, I think, what we're looking for is performance levels, being where we want them to be in Europe. We don't want to be on the end of a hammering, and we don't want to look like we're being outclassed. I don't think we've seen the best of Celtic this season in any way, shape, or form. Our league position, demonstrates that. But hopefully, we can start to see the levels, even if it's just incremental, just start to increase and actually show that, okay, this is not the top tier of Europe where we wanted to be, where we did so well last year. But what we want to show is that actually we're starting to move again in the right direction. So fingers crossed, we'll start to see that. Anti-fascist comes in to say, no, Balikwisha, nope. Is it time up? Is there any way back for the player? Because he's not making squads domestically. He's not making squads, I think, even in the Cup, and not in Europe. So you'd have to question, what opportunities is there for the player at the moment? I mean, he'll not be happy at not playing, but it's one thing. It's a real challenge to get into the Celtic team, and then staying in the Celtic team is even tougher. So, no room for passengers, as many people said. If he's not up to the level, it may be a player that we have to write off, and that's not something you want to say about any player. But under 3 managers now, he's not really had a look in. So, yeah, I don't think we can really fully depend on Balikwisha going forward. I think this is Edward. I think that is got to. I'm sure it's got to do better than Rio. Reference maybe to Bernardo there. Well, fingers crossed. Otis B Driftwood, is that not really much for Izzy? Is that maybe a reference to Bernardo possibly? Yeah, might be rusty. So we'll need to wait and see. Just doing a little bit of vetting on the comments there. So AGSC Tech, good to see you on the channel as always. Good lineup. Doesn't matter if Bernardo has had poor form. We need to use the Stuttgart games to sharpen his label for the FPFL games. Correct decision. It's an interesting perspective, actually, because what is our expectation level in Europe? I don't think any of us would see... we wouldn't really view Europe as a priority at the moment. We want to win the league. Martin O'Neill, however, as we know, is a real born winner. He wants to win every single game. I don't think he ever sets out to say that competition is more or less important than the other. But it's an interesting point. We do want to make sure our players are firing on all cylinders, on all fronts. So I think, if Bernardo does have a good performance tonight, actually his confidence might go up, and that, would then transition into the domestic games, which is great. So I'd like to see that. Kieran comes in to say, big screen, all right, DD, things going well then. It's not a big fancy screen, to be honest, it's just a TV that I'm using at the moment. And actually I've got this set up kind of partly for work, partly for Acsom. So, but yeah, no, I'm doing okay, but not didn't mean it to come across like that. Paul Maguire, I hope we win tonight, but the league is our bread and butter. Hail, hail. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. Where is the priority for all you guys in the chat? I mean, I want to win every competition. I want to do well in every competition. I'm not under any illusions. I think us having another run to a European final like we did in Seville, even though it's Martin O'Neill again, and I'd love the nostalgia, and you'd love to see it. I don't feel as though we're as well equipped this time, or anywhere near as well equipped to do that. But I do think that under Martin O'Neill, and with players starting to perform well, the Tonectis, for example, Araujo coming in, Sarachi coming in, we've got Alistair Johnson to come back. And I was thinking, when we look at that bench earlier and we look at the lineup, you imagine if you throw Jota, Alistair Johnson and Carter Vickers into that lineup, suddenly things don't look quite as bleak as they did earlier this season. Lots of stuff for us to do, but I think that would just add a different dimension. So it would be good. Laurie Gallica, great to see you. Enjoy the game, everyone. Hopefully you get a decent result, and it's fabulous to see you, Laurie. Big supporter of the channel, and hope the wee fella's doing well as well. There is something I want to bring in. Well, we're all positive, and we're maybe not talking too much about the match. But from a personal standpoint, I know a lot of people reached out personally to ask about my health. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that did that. I did have a bit of a rough start to the season, as it were, but or a rough start to the year, as I say. And it wasn't due to drinking at New Year, I promise. But I appreciate everyone that reached out. That was very, very kind of you. And on that front, I also, when watching the 12:30 bulletin the other day, I learned that one of our long-term commenters and viewers, Monty, is currently in hospital. battling a bit of a condition at the moment. So I just want to extend my own personal best wishes out to Monty. Hopefully, boys do the business for you tonight and gives you a bit of positivity as well. But keep fighting, sir. Okay, back to some of the comments. Yep, so again, just going back to my earlier point, tonight's a free hit, so no pressure. We can hopefully enjoy the game and maybe get a win. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of us can do that. I mean, I know we like to try and do it, and I think it's great if you can do it. I can't relax even in these games. I can never view games as a free hit personally, because if we don't play well or we don't get the result, it's incredibly disappointing, and you know it sort of brings you down a little bit. So my hope is that we get something positive tonight. But I appreciate where you're coming from. Jace Face, I think that is Jace Face. Bernardo in to be more defensive. Yeah, maybe just to support Callum McGregor a little bit. You know, sometimes I think he can when we're on the front foot, he can look a little bit isolated, and I think he does try and direct the defence. I know everybody talks about the point and thing like that, which I'm not a fan of, because I figure if we can see Callum McGregor pointing, the opposition can see him pointing. So I would rather he didn't do it. But I do think that when Callum McGregor has got a little bit of support in there, he can actually then be his influential self, and he can pick the ball up and carry it forward. And he's got that ability. And I think, you know, when he's overburdened on a defensive standpoint, I think we lose something from the team. So maybe with Bernardo coming in, it will free up Callum McGregor to be that little bit more influential. Stubbsy's horse coming in, Stubbsy's horse 327 coming in, being far too sensible to say work rate will be key tonight. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I think in Europe, and it's the one thing that we demand as Celtic supporters, we want to see that work ethic. We hate to see players who don't seem to show the desire and the energy levels, and it's difficult because you're all basing it on what you can see. You know, sometimes it seems a bit unfair to say that about players, but you know, when we look at players like maybe Srirachi or an Araujo, who do seem to have that kind of stallion like running up and down the park and running through players, that gets you a bit excited. So you like that. You like to see that. Let's see. So Ian Corbett comes out and says, the fans disturb the game. I hope it doesn't negatively affect the team tonight. I think that's a fair point. I'm not wanting to dwell too long on that because it's match day and we've got the 12:30 bulletins to talk about that. But I do think that we have to find the right way to make statements as supporters without impacting the on-field, the on-field progress. That's my personal view. It's just very, very difficult. I think if any of us had the answers, we wouldn't be in this position. But hopefully we start to see some movement on that soon. Let's see what else we've got. Yep. So, this is a good one from AGS Tech. Angelo Stiller is a master controller for Stuttgart. We have to disrupt him or control more possession. Yep. Good insight. Absolutely. They've been on a good run in the Bundesliga. They're also doing quite well in Europe. I think compared to us, I've got some stats here on my other screen, so apologies again if I'm looking kind of away. But they're currently sitting in the 11th position in the Europa League. Take my teeth out, on 15 points. We're in 21st position on 11 points, and they've scored 2 more goals than us. So not a huge amount more goals, but they're certainly they've had a couple of good results in there. Again, Rab Boy comes in to say, just nice bit of validation there. Bernardo probably been brought in as he's better defensively than Rio and allows McGregor to play further forward. Yeah, that's me and Rab are on the same wavelength there. Don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing for you, Rab. Otis Driftwood, that's a good point. We will be out muscled, I fear, tonight. This has been a kind of common complaint throughout the season, is that we're not showing that same kind of aggression, and sometimes we're getting bundled off the ball. I've seen McGregor and actually Hatate and even Scales getting a bit of that treatment. So really important that we that we do stand up to, if we get any shoulder tackles or rough housery, we need to give as good as we get. Couple of other points I want to try and bring in, get your thoughts on it. We've spoken about a couple of players. Trusty, Austin Trusty got a lot of criticism after the last match. Didn't, I think, by any standards, have his best game. Really need him to kind of get back to being a bit of a leader at the back. He's had some really good performances in Europe. A lot of people pointed to the fact that he seems to save his best for Europe. So he's a player that we'll need to, we want to see him recover. And I think another one, and again, similar kind of profile, a bit of a leader, Kasper Schmeichel. What's happened to him? Great shot stopper. Is his mobility an issue? What about, is the shoulder injury bothering him? Why is he trying to make saves with what looks like the wrong arm. And are these small margins costing us? And is it natural degradation of a player? Is it a fitness issue? Is it a confidence issue? Can we trust Casper from now until the end of the season? It's big challenge, bit of scrutiny on him. Maybe he's not had that scrutiny for his career, so test the character for him. But as we know, he is quality. He has been quality throughout his career, and we're just looking forward to him getting back to it. But yeah, two players I think under a little bit of scrutiny tonight. So hopefully they both have good games, because we will need them tonight. Anti-fascist comes in to say Celtic Park, world-class library tonight. Cheers, Desmond. We're missing that from our Arsenal. I don't mean Arsenal as in the team that's fluffing our lines down south. No. Celtic Park is and the atmosphere and the supporters. And listen, I've seen it. I remember, the night Artur Boric became the holy goalie. It was one of the best atmospheres I'd ever seen. I remember, the 6-2 game against Rangers. The atmosphere that the supporters can bring when we're all united, when everybody's in there. And as I say, I know the Green Brigade, some people, they can divide some opinions. I just want to see a full Celtic Park. That's it. I think that's so important to have a full and unified Celtic Park. And I think there is a responsibility on the club to try and get us back to that. There's responsibility on both sides. I've been quite consistent in saying that, but I think the club has the responsibility to do the best for the club. So, Stephen B961, Chris is at the hoops room. Yeah, this is the only room in the house that my wife let me decorate. It is my home office, so I did go for a little bit of green, and I got some pictures. I'm not finished yet. I've got a few more things to do. A couple of signed shirts that I want to get up as well. It's not all positive tonight. The Estepona boy comes in. Sorry, but we'll get Gub tonight. Hibs game is more important. Hope I'm wrong. Come on, you boys in green. Look, I mean, I think there's always going to be that degree of apprehension. So I get it. I do, but I hope you're wrong as well. I hope we go out and show what we can do. I'm trying to see some of the other comments here, because I want to just make sure we get as many comments as possible. Dylan Skelly comes in on, I don't like saying X, I'm going to say Twitter. Dylan Skelly comes in on Twitter to say Kelechi off the bench to grab a great winner. Yeah, it's great to see him back. It's been under a bit of discussion as to, is it a fitness issue? Was he not, is he not doing it in training? Is he unsettled? You start speculating when you don't get a lot of information coming out of the club as to, why he's not been in the lineup, because like Paul John, I quite like what he brings to the table. One of the few games I got to go and see live this year, I watched how he played, and he held the ball up, and he brought other players into it, and I actually thought players like Maeda enjoyed playing off him. So I think he's got something to offer. And I know he's had issues in his career, but Celtic Park can be a great place to rehabilitate players. So fingers crossed, maybe he comes on and has a decent run tonight as well. Hatate has been an empty jersey. Yeah, I think Hatate's got a lot to do to try and turn a lot of supporters' opinions around, including mine. To be fair, I really rated Hatate at times, but I think he's a little bit of an undisciplined player. So hopefully under Martin O'Neill, he might start to find his form. You remember what Martin O'Neill could do for players like Stilian Petrov, for example. So maybe there's maybe there's something there. Let's see. I'll bring this up a bit. It's DJ83X, sorry, and it's KT and Maida better in point tonight because this Stuttgart winger is nippy as fufa. We need to be careful. We need to not start slow tonight. We've been punished in Europe too often by slow start, and we go a goal down. And I think it's been mentioned in another comment. I can't quite find it at the moment, but there's that we need to be disciplined tonight. And I think that's really important. We can't have sendings off. We don't want to give the referee difficult decisions. Let's keep our discipline. Let's keep our shape. So I think that's really, really important. And let's get some of the more recent comments. So, yep, Andy Lee comes in to say, here we go, Mon Hoops. Yep, we are getting close to kick-off. I can't actually see if we are there, so I will be wrapping this up in just one more minute. Get a few more comments in. Spaced out 89. Well, hope it goes well. No injuries. Yeah, I'd absolutely take that. Yes, Kieran makes a great point. Come on, you boys in green. Give Martin's 1,000 some respect. As Martin O'Neill's 1,000th match as a football manager tonight, so that's a huge achievement. Just at his 300th match for as Celtic manager collectively the other night. So that was really some achievement as well. So yes, absolutely, it would be a great night to celebrate that achievement. All right, guys, I believe we are getting close to kick-off. Really, really appreciate everyone that actually stuck around and listened to me talking. Can be good to have to look at me and listen to me at the same time, but thank you everyone for doing that. I've no one to get a prediction off of, so I've seen a few predictions. Someone gave 2-1 earlier. I'll stick with that. 2-1 to Celtic. I would take that all night. So fingers crossed we do the business tonight. But I sincerely hope anyone that's at the stadium and anyone that's watching from home, I hope everyone has a great game. And I will be back at halftime. Hopefully, maybe not alone. But if I am, I'll get plenty more of your comments in. So thanks everyone for watching a Celtic State of Mind. Come on, the Hoops.